Hello, good morning, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is a quick review on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I had some gigs over the weekend. To fund my podcasting, I have to play weddings. So, if you like this video, if you like what I am doing here, please give it a, share it. Let people know about it. I'd love to have some more people in this community. I am doing some deep dives and some deep, serious analysis on some of these films, and hope that they are fun for you. I have a blast doing them, so hopefully we can do more of this. Anyway, I just want to reach out and thanks everybody so far. Just hit 1340 subscribers, so looking to try to keep that going. So if you haven't subscribed yet and you're enjoying the channel, please give this video a like and subscribe. Thanks so much. This experience of trying to understand this film has become more challenging and complex as it goes along. I really feel like one of the things that I wanted to do, and I really wanted to deep dive into this, is to get into the details of what happened, what actually happened and what didn't happen, and all those things. All the changing of history that Mr. Tarantino loves to do, his retconning of actual history, so to speak. So that I find very interesting and fun. He does kind of a real retcon. He's retconning actual history. So he loves to do this, and he realized that he can do it with his platform that he has created on himself. And interestingly enough, especially with what's been happening in all the SJWs who have attacked him recently over the film, it's hilarious what ensues afterwards, and it's great to see Hollywood at least still kind of understanding. It's like you've got to still keep the art in film if it's going to succeed, and I really think that Quentin Tarantino has been able to do that in this film and many others as we go along here. So it's definitely not my favorite film of his. Still really fun. It kind of meanders towards the middle. The beginning and the end were really good. I have had several conversations about this with several of my friends about it, and it was definitely a fun film. I mean, like, my favorite Tarantino film is Jackie Brown is right up there with it. But I'd have to probably say Reservoir Dogs is right there, and then Pulp Fiction, and then maybe Jackie Brown. But anyway, I might do a breakdown of all my favorites. I love the Kill Bill series, and apparently he's working on a third Kill Bill movie. So at least that's what it's listed on IMDb. I'm not sure if that's actually real or not, whatever. But rather than trying to understand the parts that actually true and what parts weren't, I will focus on the film itself and the characters that were in the film, because I would love to go into the depth of the details between, like, what really happened and what Quentin changed, because I did watch several documentaries about the Manson murders and everything. It's a fascinating thing. It's like, and the end of this film, no spoilers here, but the end of this film is very interesting because you think it's going to keep going, because there's, if you know the history of what actually happened, the Manson murders go beyond this night. It goes beyond this. So it makes you wonder if it's going to keep going or whatever. Anyway, but anyway, a lot of people are obsessed with the Manson murders. It's kind of silly. I do know that one of the things that they did change was the person that came up with the idea for the reasons for the killings. The person who had anyway, but that's like, apparently it was Manson's idea to kill these people in Hollywood because they had taught them to kill, and that was something that, because of Roman Polanski's films, had some serious drugs and partying and death and killing and stuff. So that was something that he was trying to kind of shine a mirror, or at least that's what apparently what had happened there. So but in this film, it's somebody different comes up with that idea. So rather than try to understand what parts were actually true and what parts weren't, I will focus on the film itself and the characters rather than how they were depicted and if they were depicted falsely or not. And that part of the film actually skewed us into the alternate timeline. Part of me wants to think that the acid dip cigarette was the wild card that pulled us out of historical events. That this tiny yet influential object of psychedelic proportions had led us to new justice, or new territory that lay before us. The uniqueness of this film is most outlined by the structure, or lack thereof. There is virtually no story direction, and it seems like there are a large number of peculiar remnants of a story that exist unclaimed. And the two friends in this story happen to stumble and plow right through them. So it's like this, it's like a remnants of a story that was once there, and these two these two friends are just kind of plowing through it all. So this was the more interesting part about this film, is that it ends up. One of my favorite aspects of this film is definitely that it ended up being about friendship, about two friends that were it's almost as if in most situations, or at least in past situations, things like this where you have, but he's well deserved so much praise in this. Brad Pitt's character really shines in this. There was part of me that was like, oh yeah, Brad Pitt's like the same guy in every movie, and he kind of is. He has the charm. He's got this thing. He just does his smiling, and that's the charm of him. And then, of course, all the things that have led up to in his entire career or whatever. And don't get me wrong, one of my favorite films with Brad Pitt is called Johnny Suede. If you haven't seen that film, you will laugh your ass off and at the same time cry bullets. No, it's a really fun film, and I think you might enjoy it. Anyway, back on track here. The uniqueness of this film is most outlined by the structure or lack thereof. There is virtually no story, direction. It seems like there are a large number of peculiar remnants of a story that existed unclaimed, and that the two friends in the story happen to stumble and plow right through them. DiCaprio, Rick, and is electrifying in this. My favorite part of this entire film is when he is able to achieve his goal of escaping his unfortunate discovery of becoming a has-been. This is something that is outlined and illustrated and kind of for lack of a better term, awakened to DiCaprio, Rick, by Al Pacino's character. And Al Pacino plays a producer who's trying to get him to do westerns in Italy. So. Once again, there's no spoilers here. I'm just gonna analyze the structure and things of the film and talk about that. I'm not getting into any spoilers. My favorite part of this entire film is when he's able to achieve his goal of escaping his unfortunate discovery of becoming a has-been. The way that Pacino's character lays it out for him while attempting to conceive him to go to Italy to make some Western films is pretty devastating. Pacino reveals to him that he is always portrayed as the villain, and his character is always looked down upon by the audience because of what his role is. I really feel like this achievement by the end of the arc is fantastic, because he realizes that although it is nice to be appreciated by the collective audience who doesn't necessarily understand the depth of him as a person, that there is something much more important here. What he discovers in this arc is so much more valuable, to move people. And that's what an actor is supposed to do, I really feel like. I feel like that's what... and he discovers that. He discovered, he's gotten glory, he's gotten this, he's gotten that, whatever. He's gotten things, he's gotten certain, privileges in his life to enable him to kind of be what he is or who he is and achieve the things he is. But he discovers this, and what's so much more valuable is to move people, because there's a scene that when he finally accomplishes, it's actually pretty phenomenal what DiCaprio accomplishes here. to move people to embrace his own involuntarily established role as the villain, and create an amazing scene as he tramples all over himself with guilt and shame after missing lines and getting the shakes from too much liquor, which I have had before. He is able to focus his valiant march to the final scene that is later described by the director as Hamlet-inspired, is accompanied by encouraging Mexican march music to help him achieve his newfound goal. Without spoiling, I will just say that the outcome is quite positive. That was my favorite part of this movie. It was just really, really amazing. I will say that anyone who is obsessed with films and the history of them would be pleasantly satisfied with the display of show and tell that seems to overflow in this movie. By having the characters live and breathe within a history of films that you are familiar with, this is a perfect chance for you to play a game of show and tell, or just plug films and television shows that inspired you along the way, or just merely are wanting to say, hey, check this one out. If you're making a film that takes place in a period of time those films were coming out, you can display those said films in your movie, or having the characters go see those films. It's I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, but at the same time, it is rather clever, and that not many people do that these days. That was one of my assessments of it, is just like, oh yeah, check this movie out if you haven't seen it, because there was quite a few in there that were mentioned. Through the middle of this movie, it seems like it was just peppered with so many different genres of entertainment, allowing tolerance for variety to exist on one plane, which I think he does very well in this. It was very, very cool of him to do that. And he's always been, I mean, he hasn't necessarily always been that way, but I think and in this film, he really reaches out and is able to dip into varieties, and that variety is easily projected when your main character is an actor. Like, oh yeah. One significant advantage to having your two main characters work on movies is that you can have your characters escape into small stories that wouldn't exist otherwise, but allow an entertaining expose. For instance, for half the film, you see a main character trying to become a cowboy, or at least portray one in a movie, or at least pretend to be one, not being a real one. And then you see Tex, who is this guy from Texas, who is alerted to someone's threat in his livelihood, and then you see him become an actual real cowboy in action and do real cowboy stuff there. And then you see a cowboy in real action. This is particularly entertaining because it gave the concept of the cowboy some serious depth, and not just the character on the screen. The scene that I mentioned earlier about DiCaprio psyching himself out was amazing, by the way. I'm sorry, that's in retrospect, but I just have to say it is psyching himself out. Like, a lot of people in the theater were kind of like laughing at it, and I mean I get it. Some people might think that's funny, but because he is just like beating himself up about it. But he was beating himself up about it because he had did too much alcohol the night before, and as a result, his brain, he just wasn't able to. He wasn't on his A game. And he was trying to psych himself up back to being up on his A game, and so that was particularly, I thought it was inspiring and really fun to see. I mean, it was like I said, it was my favorite part of the movie. The second act did seem to meander a bit, but in general, we are met at the end with several resolutions. One of my favorite parts was this resolution of their friendship, and the strengthening of this friendship that had led us to believe that it was going to fade away. Yet there is an event that reinforces the friendship and strengthens it. So, because towards the end of the movie, you feel like they're going to fade away. You feel like they're going to fade away as friends, and this is great to see that it gets reinforced by that event at the end. If you know me at all, you know that. That I love. That, I mean, the reason I'm here is to, great, if make a little bit of money to pay for my equipment, great. I'm here to make friends and talk with people. That's why I'm here. and I love friendship. I love movies about friendship, especially because that's all we have. That's all I have. I'm not married. I don't have children. I have friends. That's what I have. So, and that's you. So thanks for watching, and thanks for being my internet friend. If you know me at all, you know that I really love movies about friendship because that is the stuff of life. I exist here on YouTube to make friends, not for any other reason. I enjoy making videos. I feel like it is something that I was meant for, and the more I make them, but honestly, you are more important to me than these videos and your connection, your love of movies. You are more important to me than that. You as the viewer, as a friend in film. So if you want me to continue more of this movie, please like, share, and subscribe, because I would really like to talk more about the Manson murders and what details lie before us in the discovery of what items in this movie altered history and what items were real. I am prepared to dive into all of that, but we have to get more views on this. So anyway, please share this video, subscribe, like, and all that business. Thanks again for watching. My name is Ben, and this is the Fanatics of Film. And I hope you enjoyed the movie. I thought it was pretty fun. I definitely it wasn't my favorite, but I probably have to say my favorite's Reservoir Dogs, and then probably Pulp Fiction, and then Jackie Brown. Jackie Brown was pretty priceless because Bridget Fonda's character was pretty funny, and there was a lot of fun stuff in that. So anyway, and I did love the Kill Bill series. Those were really fun. Hope you're having a great day, and have a good one. Take care.